Just to speak on it, my name is Malik, part of the Retro Current Team Outreach in conjunction with the West Side Hand Opioid Task Force and the Voice newspapers. Today we're going to start with a situation that deals with opioids, addiction. It's a situation that happened with a law enforcement person out in California, but it's relevant here in Chicago because we have talked about fentanyl on many occasions, and that seemed to be one of the driving forces right now behind many of the overdoses. But I want to just say a little thing about something that State Rep. LaShawn Ford of the 8th District here in Illinois on the West Side had mentioned at a task force meeting this week. And that was that hepatitis and HIV are issues that we really need to begin to sound off on again. Because it appears that there is a somewhat of a surge in those two challenges. You know how sometimes when you don't hear something, you think everything is cool, but just because we got a pandemic and just because we got the opioid, heroin, dope situation, the violence situation, don't mean that challenges we had before these most recent challenges came are truly under control. So I just wanted to say that. If you need information on HIV, on hepatitis C or whatever else is hepatitis, you can get that information from the West Side Hand Opioid Task Force also. Just Google it, and there are people that will be ready to pop up and help you out, no doubt. Let's get started, Brother Omari, because we got a lot to cover. But let me say this before we do. Wednesday night on the radio show, I made a deliberate decision after wrestling not to show any type of negative stuff. And we used a cut to open with From the Mighty Clouds of Joy, something we can't do here because of copyright issues, and even if you don't have an issue with that, these new platforms use those type of old school things that we used to do to block us, to be sure that some of the message that we trying to get out have a legitimate so-called reason to be blocked. So the song we was able to play on the radio, and it talked about some of the challenges of our ancestors. And I think one of the things we have to be careful with is that in times like these, not to reinforce the violence, not to reinforce the negativity, not to reinforce the burden. And sometimes by just repeating it over and over and over, we make it worse. So I decided not to do that. But today, I will deal with some nitty-gritty. And the nitty-gritty sometimes is painful to your ears and your eyes. But we just can't ignore it. And I can't afford in my own mind to pretend that it's not happening. So let's start with this piece about that officer, and then we'll move on down.
New WGN-TV Emerson College poll finds that crime remains the #1 topic on people's minds in Chicago, and the survey shows some trouble for 2 local politicians.
Mayor Lightfoot's approval rating has fallen to 42.5%, with 45.9% of respondents disapproving of the job that she's doing. That's a shift from the start of the summer, when the mayor's approval rating was at 48%.
Also underwater, but by a much wider margin, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Just 1 in 3 voters, 34.7%, approve of the job she's doing, while almost half disapprove.
WGN's political reporter Taman Bradley has a closer look at those results.
With shootings in Chicago on the rise, residents are taking notice. 62% of respondents say there is more crime now than there was a year ago. It's residents' #1 issue. 44.2% of those asked their top concern chose crime. That's more than 3 times the next closest issue, COVID-19. Juliette Sorensen is a Northwestern law professor and former federal prosecutor.
There have been anti-violence efforts. There have also been highly publicized incidents of violence, against ordinary citizens, and also incidents of violence against law enforcement themselves.
As leaders look to stop a rise in carjackings, 47% of residents say they are greatly concerned about the issue, while 31% say they are concerned a fair amount. Chris Patterson is Chief Program Officer for Friends of the Children of Chicago, an organization that provides paid mentors to young children.
Chicago is facing unprecedented challenges like never before. You know, when I think about our young people and the fact that they've got their kind of free time to spend doing carjackings, I want to figure out, like, what are some alternative means in which we can keep them busy.
Residents split on who should take responsibility for solving Chicago's violence problem. 36.5% of respondents said CPD is responsible, with the mayor following at 26% and the Cook County State's Attorney close behind at 22%. Chicago residents who were polled are divided over media coverage of crime. 36.6% say the news media overemphasizes, 31.5% say the media underemphasizes, and 31.9% say the press placed the right amount of emphasis on the issue. In an issue city leaders have been debating this year, residents side with the mayor and police superintendent David Brown, who argued the court system is releasing too many violent criminals. Asked if they believe some individuals charged with gun crimes should be released on electronic monitoring while awaiting trial, an overwhelming majority, 7 in 10, said no. State's Attorney Foxx reacted to our poll in a statement. Right now, we need an all-hands-on-deck approach to tackle the rise in crime with smart, community-focused solutions, she said. And we need to stop oversimplifying the criminal justice system and critically examine all the factors influencing violence in our communities. This means not relying on data from a cherry-picked poll that only examines 2 actors in a broad system and who happen to be black women. There are signs residents' feelings about crime could have lasting consequences. 65.2% of people say they would consider moving if Chicago's gun violence continues. In the wake of the shooting death of Chicago police officer Ella French, support for the police is growing. 70% of residents say they have at least a somewhat positive opinion of CPD. And you can find the full results of our poll on our website, WGNTV.com. In the newsroom, Taman Bradley, WGN-TV.
Now, we are going to just go through some of these, but we didn't want to drop it on you, like the song stated. Heavy load. Because when you listen to what you're about to see, then that gives some deeper perspective to that poll that showed how people are feeling. And it's a heavy load that they feeling. People, over 87,000 Negroes have left Chicago over the last few years. And they running. And that's because of the heavy load, man. But when you look at how children and seniors are being slaughtered, And then you have these 2 black female officials. And it appears that for whatever reason, you know, they don't seem to be able to network with others to come to some type of strategy that will curtail this insanity. You know, I don't want to slam Fox or Lightfoot, but don't nobody want, well, I don't want to hear that poor me, black woman, y'all picking on me. I don't want to hear that. I don't. You in the spot. You said you wanted the spot. You popcorn your pop-up self to get in the spot. Now handle it. Don't sit there and think that people gonna listen to these excuses about the revolving door of these career criminals coming out slaughtering babies and old folk and other folk. And you being so hooked up in your own self that you can't hear nothing else. We don't want to hear it. You understand? They say that you, the black woman, is the backbone of the black community. Damn it, act like it. Otherwise, stay in your role. Because definitely the role you in now ain't fitting neither one of y'all. Run it by these kids, man.
Seriously wounded her 6-year-old sister. Glenn Marshall's live at Loyola Medical Center with details. Good morning, Glenn.
Hey, good morning, Lauren. Now, police don't believe that these 2 young victims were the entire targeted in this situation. They were not the intended targets, I should say, in this situation. They were visiting family when the shooting took place. A 7-year-old was shot and killed, and her 6-year-old sister is fighting for her life in the hospital right now. Police told us the shooting took place a little before 3 p.m. yesterday near the corner of 62nd and West Grand Avenue. Police say the mother of the little girls were putting them inside a vehicle when shots rang out. The 7-year-old was shot in the chest, while the 6-year-old was hit in the chest and armpit. Both girls were rushed to Loyola University Medical Center, where the 7-year-old passed away from the gunshot wound. We're told they were not the intended targets. Police also say no one is in custody.
To say that I am saddened and outraged would be an understatement. I can only hope that every resident of this city is as angry, saddened, and outraged as I am at this time. Too many young people have lost their lives to senseless gun violence in the city of Chicago.
And while police are still investigating this incident, we're told 49 people were shot over the weekend, with 4 of them dying, including that 7-year-old victim from yesterday. Of course, we'll keep you updated as we receive more information, but for now, we're live in Maywood. I'm Glenn Marshall, WGN News.
When Elon Musk said,
police said he hoped that we are as angry as he is. We are. Matter of fact, we more angry than you are, because you all making a whole lot of money and we are not seeing the type of results. We, meaning citizens, to pay taxes, to pay you all a decent salary.
Here we
and
go.
All that overtime.
Time to shine.
We're going to talk about that $150 million in overtime that the police are making. I ain't hating on the police for that. They need to make the money. But damn, you also need to figure out a system to catch these criminals and work with whoever you need to work with, the Fed, although that's not your responsibility as a police officer. But at least there should be someone in the government that can work with the state's attorney's office or the attorney general office to come up with something, and don't keep talking about it's happening all over the nation. Well, if it's happening all over the nation, I would say let's look at who's the leaders in those top positions of these areas where it's out of control. You understand? And there are some common denominators. I ain't gonna get off into the blue versus the red, but I am gonna say this. When this cycle is over and you get through with celebrating something that you don't have, that is equality. It's easy for them to put y'all in those positions instead of a black man. because you're more controllable by them than a black man. But the black man had his chance. He was whoremongering, doing dope, acting a damn clown. So his time passed. Now that you all in there, y'all need to, know what I'm saying? Y'all need to do it. Since you say it's all about you all. So do it. Do something other than make excuses. Do something other than be over empathetic. And do something other than having these creatures that come out of the joint that charms you in getting you to do things, calling it criminal justice reform, that only enables them to continue their own updated, camouflaged insanity. Oh yeah, we going just like that. Run this piece, man, right down up under that. Where you had them, now that where that little 7-year-old boy that got killed over there in Ukrainian village. Now I don't know what that was about.
That 7-year-old boy is doing okay as he recovers here at Lurie Children's Hospital. Now a woman who heard the shooting happen right outside her apartment says it all started with a loud argument.
2 cars pulled up and they were arguing about something. And it all happened within 5 minutes. It was very, very quick.
A woman who doesn't want to be identified says this all happened just feet from where her son was sleeping.
My son's bedroom is right there. So I ran in to go get him and take him out of the room. And while I was running into the room, I heard 2 pops and then a cry. He's been hit.
The shooting happened on the corner of Haddon and Honore in East Ukrainian Village. The woman called 911, and when police arrived, she saw them picking up the 7-year-old boy with a gunshot wound to his stomach. The woman says the suspect ran into a car with a few other people, then drove off. A terrifying few minutes for the people living on this block.
And that's less than 10 feet from my son's bedroom window where he's sleeping. Just the terror of hearing the arguments, I'm not sure what's going to happen, and then the pops.
Police tell us the 7-year-old was in the back of his 29-year-old mother's car when he was shot. That marks more than 250 children shot so far this year in Chicago, with more than 30 killed.
It does worry me. I know we live in Chicago and that's part of living in Chicago, but a child shot is such a horrific thing that should not happen.
Police are still looking for that suspect as that boy continues to recover here at the hospital.
Once again, you heard that poor mother say she heard the sound of a pop. Her baby bedroom was over there by that pod. And she came into the room and got him out. Then shortly thereafter, she saw the worst. And then she said, well, we know we in Chicago, we've learned to live with it. That ain't acceptable. We should not have to learn to live with savagery. And for you political elected officials to be so damn complacent that you think that's okay, or you act like you think it's okay. It ain't okay. Citizens shouldn't have to say, well, we're in Chicago, and that's how it is. Back in the day of Elliot Ness and the Untouchables, white folks were killing each other like that. Boy, they had somebody rolling all the time, so it seemed on TV. For those of us that grew up looking at it, we believed it. We believed it made a difference. But now, we don't see nothing. Police just driving by. We looking at crime. Police drive right by where we standing with the crime going on, never stop, never slow down. How is this possible? But you getting overtime. How is it, policeman? You don't see what we witnessed. You don't see us being victimized. You keep driving. Say they got you on another assignment. Okay. But then somebody should be on the assignment of what's happening now as you drive by. You understand that? And yes, we need to keep it 100. Because right now, 99 and a half won't do. And you ain't even at the half. Show this piece here, man. and then get that 60-year-old woman. We had a 70-year-old woman
Here.
just
We'll have
killed.
more on the funeral services for Officer Ella French in just a moment. But first, right now at 9, we are following a developing story. A deadly shooting on a CTA Red Line train this evening brought the commute to a halt on the south side.
And WGN's Dana Rebick now is live at the University of Chicago Medical Center with the story. Dana?
Well, that victim was rushed here earlier this evening, did not survive. Now police are poring over surveillance video in search of the gunman.
I heard about it, and it's a shame. You know, you can't even trust anybody on the train anymore.
A fatal shooting on the CTA Red Line during the early evening rush shut down trains in both directions at the Garfield stop. It happened around 4:15 on a northbound train. Chicago police say the male victim was approached by 3 offenders, and one of them pulled out a gun and opened fire. The victim was shot in the arm and transferred to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead.
No, I was not surprised because it happens all the time. And that's just a disgrace.
Train service was disrupted for several hours as police investigated, with no trains running between Garfield and 35th Street. Passengers who ride the Red Line say they're scared and want more officers on the trains.
Something should be done about this. It's too much happening. People's lives here are at stake.
No offenders are in custody this evening. Area 1 detectives are investigating. Live at the University of Chicago Medical Center, Dana Rebick, WGN News.
Thank you, Dana. And a horrific.
And see what the man said? It happens all the time. So don't sit out there and say that I'm just making things up. You see the energy in that man? He about my generation. He's a grandfather, great-grandfather, generationally. He's saying the same thing I'm saying. He just ain't sitting here. So don't sit here and try to make like I'm making up some stuff just to be hearing myself talk. No, I'm saying what people are saying on the street, and if you politicians was actually working your wards, actually in the streets, you would hear this, you would see this, you would feel this. But it is not good enough for us to say it happens all the time.
A 67-year-old.
And you sitting there getting paid all that money.
A beloved mother.
All right, man, let's look at this.
Grandmother and teacher. That was Denise Hughley, a 67-year-old woman from Orland Park, whose life was taken last night as she and her husband were driving back home on the southbound Dan Ryan near 67th Street. Their car, the white SUV seen here, was one of 2 that got caught up in the crossfire between 2 vehicles. Hughley was shot. She died at the University of Chicago Hospital a short time later.
She changed my life. She really did. I wouldn't have got to school without her, honestly. She didn't let me, giving up wasn't an option.
A retired special ed teacher at Evergreen Park Central Middle School, Hughley worked there for 24 years. It was there she taught Walter Melanson back when he was in the 7th and 8th grades.
You didn't eat lunch? You didn't have your lunch? She made sure you eat lunch. You needed help with your work? She made sure you got help. You were sad? She didn't let you leave. She let you go home until you was in a better mood. She was like everybody's mom. That's perfect way to put it, yes.
A mother of 5 with 11 grandchildren, Hughley was, according to friends, returning from a fundraiser at a White Sox game when the shooting happened. State police chasing down the suspects at speeds up to 120 miles an hour before they crashed into a state trooper near 60th Street in Ashland in West Englewood. The trooper was not injured and 2 people were taken into custody. Illinois State Police telling us that they did recover a weapon, but no charges have yet been filed.
Now, see, situations like that, you caught them right in the wrong. See, that's where this police reform thing is really creating a problem. See what I'm saying? Because what needs to happen is that the police need to be able to do what needs to be done when they catch them like that. You killed this woman out on the expressway being a damn savage. Woman sitting in the back seat of her car, coming from somewhere trying to help somebody else, a school teacher. And you dumb, ignorant, probably twisted, nappy-headed creature just took the person's life. And you don't feel nothing. But yet, you got elected officials that think you're supposed to be pampered because you're a poor thing that's been deprived and you just happen to be black or a person of color. Them damn police should have scattered both of your brains on the ground right there where they found you. That's what needs to happen. The police need to start dealing with these criminals when they find them on situations like that. Forget all of that conversation. Turn off the camera. Because what's happening, you so careful about losing your job, police officer, and I understand that. And the criminal knows the camera is going to protect him because everybody's scared that his dumbass family going to become millionaires because of a lawsuit. You see? Something is a little wrong with this system. The criminal don't mind taking a chance because seldom do they get caught like those did. And because those are state police, that might be the reason they got caught. But I'm sure the Chicago police assisted. You know, y'all got to give up some people. The police got to have more authority. The police can't keep being scared to let folks know that the police, when they're going to come down on somebody being criminal, somebody being reckless, you know, come on. If the police can't be reckless, then how in the hell can a savage be reckless? Police got to be equal to the savage in order to stop the savage from destroying everything. You understand that? I'm saying that. I'm a Negro saying that. And any of you creatures out there that don't like the way I'm bringing it, you know, I struggle to try to be upright on this TV. I do. But dude, shut the hell up and let the police do their jobs when these savages go around killing babies, killing grandparents, and killing innocent people. If it's mutual combatant, cool. If they killing each other, cool. Let them stay there. Import some buzzards and just turn the buzzards loose on their stanky behinds. But when they doing what they're doing now, the police, the National Guard, you understand? Somebody got to deal with this with an iron fist. All right, brother, let's look at some more of this heavy load.
A safety alert tonight. Chicago police say roving bands of teens are attacking people at random in the Loop.
The crime wave has many people on edge.
Anthony Pulse is live for us tonight on State Street with more. Anthony.
Dawn and Corey, Area 3 detectives with the Chicago Police Department are warning pedestrians and residents of this part of the Loop, we are at the corner of State and Van Buren, to be on the lookout for groups of young people they say are attacking pedestrians and shoppers and robbing them of their personal property. This has happened 5 times over the last 3 days alone.
I saw them last night.
At 9:30 last night, Joyce Johnson says she witnessed a tourist couple narrowly escape getting mugged by a group of young people in the Loop.
Down near the Palmer House Hotel on Wabash, they literally, just a tourist couple walking, and they came and tried to mug them, and they luckily jetted right into the Palmer House. But it's a band of them, so after dark, I wouldn't be out here after dark.
Area 3 detectives say similar attacks have been happening all week in this part of the Loop, once on Saturday, twice on Sunday, and 2 more times yesterday. Police say a group as small as 3 or as large as 12 people, described as being between the ages of 12 and 19, approaching victims, demanding their property, surrounding the victims, and beating them until the victims give up their property.
They were not older adults. They're young kids. Teenagers for sure. So I'd definitely be very careful.
Police say if you are out after dark alone, stay in well-lit areas and be aware of your surroundings.
I'm surprised, but not so much surprised.
People are a lot more desperate. A lot of bad things happen to people in the pandemic, so it doesn't necessarily surprise me that like downtown is like a more like targeted area.
If you are a victim or if you witness a similar incident, the detectives over at Area 3 ask you to call 911 immediately. And if you're able to provide any information, details about a clothing description, a suspect description, or any relevant vehicle information, that would be helpful as well. We are live in the loop tonight. Anthony Ponce, Fox 32 Chicago.
And let me tell you, administration, what would be helpful. You got all these damn cameras that can catch a car that's driving 6 miles over the speed limit and still ain't doing 25. Surely, all of the cameras you got down there in the loop, you don't need to tell the citizens to beware of these criminals running around.
Go.
Why don't you get your behind down there and apprehend them? And when you do catch them, you let them out. That's stupid. You tell me that we got a band of criminals running around, beating people up, killing people, taking people's stuff. And the best you can do, and you the damn government, is warn the people. When you should have enough visibility down in those areas that those criminals wouldn't dare come. And you should take people and sweep. How can it happen 3 or 4 times in 2 or 3 days? So you know about that. Huh? You know what's happening, and the best you can do is warn people. And what do the people say? Well, because of the pandemic, well, da-da-da-da-da. No, the hell with that. Police, National Guard, somebody get down there and start doing your job. Otherwise, some of these dudes, they remember how to put a sucker in the trunk and make him disappear. All right.
Alan, 35-year-old
All right, let's listen to this dude
called
here,
the
man.
I-team and said, I really need to talk to somebody about what happened when he was pulled over by Chicago police. Little was the subject of a manhunt for days until he was arrested about an hour after leaving us a message.
My name is Jermaine Little, the last person that they're looking for the officer being dragged on 63rd and State.
This was the result of that here in Englewood last Friday evening. A Chicago police officer hobbling in pain after authorities say Jermaine Little pinned the policeman by powering up his car window and backing away from a traffic stop at a high rate of speed. The officer, they say, fired one shot into the car, missing Little. The officer slammed into a concrete barrier. Little allegedly hit another car and then escaped on foot.
I didn't do nothing wrong. This was a traffic stop. I had driver's license. I had valid driver's license, and I had valid insurance. The officers didn't respect my driver's license nor my insurance. The officer tried to shoot me in the face. That's what made me pull off.
Little, with almost 36 court case listings here going back to 2003 and numerous jail and penitentiary stays, admitted he was smoking marijuana while driving, according to police, who say he also had a loaded 9mm in the car. He seems to confirm that in the phone call to the I-team.
I never returned fire. I never shot at him or anything. I really need the...
Now, I hope they can hear tomorrow, because I know I can.
Because the body camera is not going to lie.
Police say they originally stopped the car because it was traveling at a high rate of speed from an area where gunshots had just been reported. In addition to allegedly having a gun, Little says he is a gunshot victim.
I have a handicap symbol on my plate because I got shot in my leg and it requires me to walk around with a brace.
Little said he wanted to meet with the I-team and talk things out on TV before turning himself into police. That once standard Chicago-style surrender never happened, though, because police picked him up before we could meet up. This afternoon, a Cook County judge ordering Little held without bond, charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, a gun charge, and aggravated assault of a police officer.
Ain't nothing to say about that. You know, I can't second guess it. All I can say happened on 63rd, around 63rd and State, from what I understand. I mean, another viaduct. Week before, viaduct where Officer French got taken out. So it's hard to understand, you know, a lot of what's happening. Why dude tried to make the move he made, but he, you know, wanted to say something. But it seemed like he was a little bit loaded down. I mean, you got a gat in the car. They say you were speeding. You say you already been popped, you know, and then you drag the police 40 or 50 feet. I mean, you know, I don't even know what he could have expected to gain by getting his word out of his mouth. But he did. They did give him what they gave him. And you saw him. Understand? And I don't know. I don't know, man. But, you know, these Negroes, they need to go to Jamaica. Because look like Jamaicans been wearing their hair in locks forever. Because they got a spiritual foundation. But these creatures over here that's wearing their hair like that, they done lost their damn mind. Damn near everybody you see doing something just unbelievable, looking wild in the face, like something has possessed them. And how the hell they ever got them naps to grow like this? What breed of creature been born in the Negro area who hair grow like this? This is recent, where their hair grow longer than females' hair grow, where they walk and their bodies move more sensuous than females, but then they act like and they kill like they real straight up warriors, huh? But you remember when the woman went off into the barbershop and snatched him by his hair, drug him out of the chair, and beat him like he was a rubber toy. But he stole a car. I bet he killed somebody. So somebody from Jamaica, somebody from somewhere, y'all need to pray for these creatures over here, that they don't be wearing these locks and all of that stuff that's locking up their brain, and that they dumb parents just don't be doing it. Because unless they following the law and the spirit of what your religion or what your environment represent, y'all need to do something, man. Y'all need to get them 6 and 7 books of Moses or whatever, and y'all need to start praying, going to the graveyard, and tie down these suckers. Take that hair and bind them. You understand? Because look like everybody that's doing this is representing y'all on the head. And I know it ain't y'all. All right, bro.
$1 on overtime this year. This comes after Mayor Lori Lightfoot promised to make the issue a top priority. The mayor eliminated 614 vacancies in her budget, but still nearly 1,000 spots have yet to be filled. The city says it right now has no choice but to keep the overtime meter running as murders and shootings surge and police continue to retire.
Now, you know, that $150,000, $150 million for overtime, you know, that's an insult for people to have to hear that. How do you pay people overtime when their regular time is not producing the product, which is safety, or at least the perception of safety? But yet you sit here and you saying, well, we got a deficit of people because people retired.
Nearly 6 years in federal. New
I don't want to hear that. Really don't. I mean, how you gonna pay these people overtime? Whether they pay working overtime or don't work at all, it don't make no difference. So all they need to do is just go do their 7 or 8 hours and go into the house. Because them other hours they putting in ain't added nothing to the time that they got paid. And why we as citizens just sit back and act like it's okay. And I guess I need to just qualify that. I guess the only reason it seemed like it's a little different because I have the opportunity to be down here at CAN TV, but you can have the same opportunity. And you need to come down here and get certified, go through these classes so you can get down here and speak on it, man. You need to get down here, call it what you want to call it. Who need somebody other than me talking what you call crazy? You know what I'm saying? Somebody has got to push this thing. Because right now, ain't nothing making sense. All right, brother, let's look at this situation here.
Now, new at 10 tonight, a former Chicago police officer will spend nearly 6 years in federal prison. David Salgado was sentenced today. He and his partner, Xavier Elizondo, were convicted last year of using fake search warrants to raid homes and steal cash and drugs.
I don't know how this thing is off. Got me fumbling
whatever that is, Nathan.
With my ear. I don't know. We having technical difficulty. I can't hear, so I can't figure out what's going on. But just keep running, Amara, until we can figure this out.
I don't even weigh 210.
I mean, I see black couple.
Hey guys, so Hall family
Forgive,
says
man,
that
but
they
I also
forgave
see
the
me.
young man who shot at their house and then some. They say they harbor no ill will against him and want to put what happened behind them. Take a look.
We just trying to move on from here, you know, yet the memory will still always be there, but as adults and with our kids, we have to move on.
And after nearly a year, the Hall family finally can. The man who terrorized them over several days will spend more than 1,000 of them in prison. A Macomb County Circuit Court judge gave Michael Frederick Jr. a sentence of 4 to 10 years Monday. The 25-year-old shot at the Hall family's home, slashed tires on one of their cars, and wrote racist graffiti on their pickup truck last September. He told the judge he did it all because he was incensed over the Hall's Black Lives Matter sign.
You should respect people for who they are and just go on. Okay, you got your viewpoint, I got my viewpoints. Let's agree to disagree.
Frederick's targeting of the Warren family struck a nerve. It happened as communities were already on edge as protests broke out around the country following the murder of George Floyd and the contentious election between then President Donald Trump and former VP Joe Biden. As Warren police worked to find and arrest Frederick, Black Lives Matter here. There were marches in support of the Halls and counter-protests. But despite all that happened, the Halls are extending an olive branch to Frederick.
I'm not angry. I'm forgiving. I'm loving. I care about this kid. I want to see, you know, I even looked at him and I told him, I said, you're a great kid. You have great things coming your way. You know, you made a bad mistake, you know, but I want you to learn. And in my impact statement, it said, I want you to get close to God.
And he did.
And he said that.
Frederick's father was charged with accessory after the fact and evidence tampering for throwing the gun his son used into a river. He cut a deal with prosecutors to avoid serious jail time, but was ordered to pay $3,000 in restitution. The Hall say Frederick's actions ultimately backfired and unified their neighborhood.
What was meant for our harm, God turned it for our good. And I say that because neighbors came out of their houses, ones that we didn't see before, you know, and we were able to meet the people. We saw more love than hate in this whole thing. There was more people that came to our rescue, came to see about us.
Can't hear nothing, man.
Frederick also vandalized another home in the area that had a Joe Biden sign up on the property. The Hall say they want to stay in contact with Frederick as he serves his prison sentence.
All right, brothers, just go on and play those two pieces by Minister Farrakhan that'll help people understand that. And like once again, like I said, I'm trying to learn how to read lips today.
I had a wonderful meeting with him, and it closed on the question, what can we do? That's right. What can we do? Yeah. Yes, sir. I said, you know, my brother, your father taught nonviolence. All right, all right. I mentioned Martin Luther King III because I had a wonderful meeting with him, And it closed on the question, what can we do?
That's right.
What can we do?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I said, you know, my brother, your father taught nonviolence. But nonviolence toward white people who have been killing us ever since we've been here.
All right. All right.
And we had to suffer humiliation, a beat down. But we took it. Why? Because the philosophy was that our love would eventually wear down their hate. And the change that we seek would come. 50 years later, we're dealing with the same thing. So I said, you turned nonviolent toward a man who lived by violence. Why don't we turn this around? See, you look better making your people nonviolent to each other. But, see, you love white people. That's why you could be nonviolent to them no matter what they did to you. But you don't have no love for your black self, so you can't turn it around. But I said, my dear brother, if all the pastors that were preaching nonviolent love to white people would turn around and start preaching nonviolence from every pulpit, why we have a right to love ourselves and to love one another. See, you just hypocritical Christians. Let me show you what I mean. Jesus said, the first and the greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is like unto it. Love your neighbor as who? As who? Yeah. But you don't love your neighbor because you really don't love yourself. So somebody has to enter the picture with a knowledge of yourself to teach you about yourself, that you can fall in love with yourself. Then your neighbor who is black like yourself, then that love would be shown to one another, and then it could spread to others. Because if a man is not charitable in his own house, how can you trust his charity in somebody else's?
Now we're going to change directions a little bit, but I wanted to end that segment. We're going to bypass this piece with the minister. I don't have permission, nor do I own the right. But hopefully he don't mind, his people don't mind us trying to give people information that might help change our behavior, our conduct, our attitude, and our life. Now, I tried not to say too much about COVID, simply because the fact that I really see that as a very personal situation. It's a medical situation. And people should be able to do what they want to do to a degree. But now, it do seem to be that the media is pitting the citizens against each other. They making people that's got the vaccine and the people that don't have it enemies. The media is doing that. This whole thing about who wears a mask and who don't. The media is creating this division and this insanity. And one of the parents called the other night to the other milieu on the radio, and she was saying that she got daughters and they in school, and that these people want to just run things up their nose every day and do all type of testing and forcing them to take vaccines and da-da-da-da-do-woo. And the parent was saying there was a time they had something they called HIPAA or something else where you had to have parental consent and this and that. But now they just saying they can do anything. Come on, y'all. Don't sit here and let people, just run you in the ground because of the pandemic. Pay attention. But because school is finna start, we're going to go through some of this because you need more information than you got. Otherwise, you're going to self-destruct. All right, brother.
Over the course of the pandemic, we are continuously gathering data and evidence to inform our guidance and decision-making. We now have numerous reports in the literature that demonstrate the safety and real-world effectiveness of the authorized vaccines. On this slide, there are 3 recently published studies, one from Israel published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, or JAMA, on the top, and 2 from the United States, both published in CDC's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, which all show that COVID-19 vaccines work. In Israel, there was a demonstrated 97% vaccine effectiveness against symptomatic and 86% effectiveness against asymptomatic infection in over 5,000 healthcare workers. In the United States, vaccines were 90% effective against any infection in nearly 4,000 healthcare workers and 94% effective against hospitalizations from COVID-19 in an evaluation across 24 hospitals in 14 states. Additionally, we are accumulating data that our authorized vaccines are effective against the variants that are circulating in this country. On this slide, you can see a study published just last week that demonstrates how effective the Pfizer vaccine is against the common circulating variants in the United States, B117, as well as other variants like B1351. Additional studies confirm that the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines are also effective against circulating variants. Finally, we know that in the rare event that people get infected after a vaccine, the resulting infection is more likely to have a lower viral load, be shorter in duration, and likely less risky of transmission to others. Considering all of these factors, the data on vaccine effectiveness, the science on their ability to protect against circulating variants, and our growing understanding of the low risk of transmission to others, combined with universal access to vaccines for those 12 and older, today, CDC is updating our guidance for fully vaccinated people. Anyone who is fully vaccinated can participate in indoor and outdoor activities, large or small, without wearing a mask or physical distancing. If you are fully vaccinated, you can start doing the things that you had stopped doing because of the pandemic. We have all longed for this moment when we can get back to some sense of normalcy. Based on the continuing downward trajectory of cases, the scientific data on the performance of our vaccines, and our understanding of how the virus spreads, that moment has come for those who are fully vaccinated.
Now, Amara, see, can you find a piece where the
over the course of the pandemic,
Chicago,
we are continuously
over the Department of Health has announced that the indoor mask mandate will start back today, Friday the 20th, here in Chicago. Everybody must wear a mask inside. Otherwise, you can just run some of the rest of them, but particularly this one here. But while he get into that, with the way we do it here, we'll get a better system later. These commercials. But one of the things, because the situation hadn't gotten different, they have had to reactivate the indoor mandate of wearing masks. Now, there are variables and there are reasons.
Now required in indoor public settings in Chicago for all persons aged 2 years and older, beginning on Friday, August 20. All right, I know a lot of you have already noted that with Chicago passing 400 cases per day, we have seen that metric move into higher risk. So here in Chicago, we are now averaging 419 COVID diagnoses per day. And with that, we moved from substantial risk into higher risk. I want to note that the rest of the primary metrics that we track do remain in lower risk. Our test positivity is at 4.3%. We're averaging 193 people hospitalized with COVID across Chicago, not in the ICU, and 62 people hospitalized with COVID in the ICU. However, with that move into higher risk, we did want to take additional action. And so we are today announcing a new mandate as Chicago's case count moves into the higher transmission risk. Already, when we crossed that 200 case per day mark, we were recommending masks, and now, as we've crossed 400, masks are now required in indoor public settings in Chicago for all persons aged 2 years and older, beginning on Friday, August 20. This mandate will remain in place while Chicago's case count remains over 400 cases per day at that higher risk. Once we get through the Delta surge, I anticipate that will come back down. When we move and consistently are under 400 cases per day, it would revert to a mask recommendation. And when we move back under 200 cases per day, that recommendation would be removed. We are not anticipating at this point adding additional business restrictions. However, we're watching what happens with these metrics. And if we see some of those hospital numbers start to move in ways that look untenable, as they have seen in the South, or if we start to see, for example, our case count get to the very high risk category, over 800 cases per day, we may need to put further restrictions in place. But different than last year when we did not have a vaccine, a high case count does not automatically translate to a high hospitalization count and a high death count. And we're hopeful that having the masks in place for everybody will get us through Delta while we keep working on getting folks vaccinated. And with doing that, our goal is to remain open but careful.
Now, nothing to say on that, Amar. Just going down on these COVID pieces, because that speaks for itself. People have to make up their own mind. I just wanted to bring the information in case somebody missed that. If you in a public place, you need to put your mask on. You just need to know that. You probably already knew it, but I wanted to make you aware just in case somebody didn't know it. All right, the next piece here is going to be somewhat, well, it might not. But there's this person that was selling these certificates online. And he'll get to that sooner or later, but I don't want to speak on it until we have the show showing as soon as these commercials work through. And I know some of you all got a lot of technology skills.
Coronavirus. Abbott's office says he is isolated in the governor's mansion and is being treated with Regeneron's monoclonal antibody treatment. This comes just hours after his campaign posted this video on Twitter. You can see it for yourself. There's Abbott in the center at an event he held in a crowded room of maskless supporters near Dallas last night. And it comes after the governor, of course, has publicly waged war against people in his own state over masks and vaccine mandates, despite a major surge of the virus in his state.
There will not be any government-imposed shutdowns or mask mandates.
It would be inappropriate to require people who already have immunity to wear a mask.
Out front now, Dr. Paul Offit. He is a member of the FDA's Vaccine Advisory Committee. South Traffic Governor Abbott, fortunately, is fully vaccinated. He's not experiencing symptoms at this moment. And of course, he's getting the full Regeneron treatment. But his infection comes after months, right, of blocking mandates for masks, COVID vaccines. You saw him yesterday at this, big event, never wearing a mask around no one else. And obviously, we find out he had COVID. He has taken his fight against masks and vaccine mandates all the way to the state Supreme Court. How much does this diagnosis weaken his argument?
Well, I certainly wish Governor Abbott a speedy recovery, but I'm sure he's learning now that masks are a lot cheaper than Regeneron. Why tie the hands of the public health officials behind their back? You have two weapons here. One is vaccines, the other is masking, and for children less than 12, that's the only weapon they have. So I think it seriously weakens his argument. I hope he sees it that way.
Well, Texas has got its own way of doing things. Now the governor is, he's experiencing something that he's had a different message on. And I don't know whether that'll change his opinion. Probably not. But they say Texas and Florida and Louisiana and a lot of places, these people just seem to want to do them.
Mandates is playing out in the Chicago public school system. Some teachers say they won't comply with the requirement to get the shot, even if it costs them their job. NBC5's V. Wynn has the story.
As Chicago public school teachers and students prepare to return to the classroom, some teachers say they are making a personal choice of not getting vaccinated. They have no plans to meet CPS's deadline.
There's a group of teachers that have talked to lawyers about it, and they said it's going to be very difficult. But we're all pretty adamant that we're gonna push it and see where it goes.
One CPS teacher asked to remain anonymous. She's been with the district for 16 years and says she is willing to lose her job over this.
There's not a doubt in my mind. I will not, because my health is much longer than my pension. If I have to leave, I have to leave.
While CPS is not requiring students over the age of 12 to get vaccinated, the district says all employees must get the shot by October 15th in order to work, unless they have an approved medical or religious exemption.
If employees want to keep their job, they are going to have to get vaccinated. There have been court challenges so far in this country that have been unsuccessful, and I think that trend is going to continue.
CPS has not said how many employees have been exempt so far, but latest data shows around 78% of employees are fully vaccinated or received at least one dose of the vaccine.
I know how strongly people feel one way or another. I see it as an infringement on at least my personal liberty.
The decision has been weighing heavily on another CPS teacher. He knows he's putting his 10-year career on the line by not getting the shot.
I think the choice it's essentially forced. It's saying, you take this or go find somewhere else to work, and that's heartbreaking.
V1 NBC5 News.
It's a serious matter, y'all. Now, Mario, if you can find the one about the police. There's one there that shows that not only in Chicago, but nationally, the police are lagging behind too as relates to taking this vaccine. Now, once again, it's got to be a personal situation. But, you see, we got a problem here.
The world.
People willing to give up their jobs, their livelihood. And it's personal. I can't even expound on it because it's personal. All right, brother, I saw the headline. I don't know where the video is. I saw it. So, well, while the system is working itself out, we'll hope that it comes. But this whole thing about the police, the teachers, and a lot of nurses and doctors, it's a terrible thing.
About coming home every day, period, not just because of a vaccine or because of COVID.
Police departments across the country devastated by the virus. And yet, convincing officers to get a COVID-19 shot hasn't been easy.
Some people let politics, I think, play into it in their decision making.
We're going to try to continue to educate our people to try to get more and more officers comfortable.
Keith Meadows, police chief for the city of South Fulton, just outside Atlanta, says less than half of his police department officers have been vaccinated.
How much do you think about them on a day-to-day basis when they're out there dealing with people who may have COVID, who may have not had the shot before?
You know, I think about it every day. It's even more important, to be perfectly honest with you, that our officers are educated around this issue.
Like Detective Joseph King, who remains skeptical.
Personally, I just want to kind of stand back and let them work through the kinks, and I'll then make a decision later on.
While some are reluctant to take the vaccine, others have opted to get vaccinated.
I made the decision to go ahead and get the vaccine in hopes that I don't have to feel that way again.
Roughly 60% of U.S. adults have had at least one dose, but in many police departments where vaccines aren't mandatory, it's a different story. As of May 10th, about 40% of Las Vegas Metropolitan Police employees have received their first dose. In New York, that number is 40% among NYPD employees. And in Chicago, it's 28%, according to the department's limited data, so that number may be higher.
It was painless, and I am afraid of needles, but I didn't feel a thing.
Earlier this year in Chicago, the police superintendent got his vaccine on camera, hoping it would inspire his officers. But the president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police Union isn't surprised by the low vaccination rate.
I think the officers are no different than the general population. There's a skepticism.
The reluctance to get vaccinated comes amid a year when police departments were hit hard by the virus. The NYPD estimates more than 11,000 have had COVID-19. And last month, the NYPD counted their 55th COVID-related death. Last year, the virus was the biggest killer of law enforcement in the U.S., causing at least 145 of the 264 line-of-duty deaths, according to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund.
One of our own, Lieutenant Eric Lloyd, we just recognized his name being put on a police memorial that passed away from COVID last year. Maybe if Eric was still alive and knowing that, he would be telling people, please go get it. Go get a vaccine.
Yeah, it's a little bit, it's a lot of pressure. Because I saw, and this was a Texas thing, that unvaccinated people are really not being allowed services in the ICU. I mean, this thing is a serious matter here. So people really gonna have to make some decisions, and that's part of the New World Order, whatever that means. But right along in now, there's a group that says, you better. There's other people say, well, we have a right to choose. But there are those that saying, no, if you're going to eat, you're going to work, you're going to this, you're going to do that, you're going to do this. All right, brother, let's talk about this
Chicago
piece
are getting
here.
busier by the day as they travel from one house to another on the city's south side.
We do about 16 homes a day. In the homes, it can be 6 people in that one home. So we've been trying to get the vaccines out there.
The fourth stop on their long list is Thomas Robinson's home. The 53-year-old is getting his first dose today.
Keep your arm nice and relaxed for me.
Robinson called the city last week to come to his home, a much more convenient option for him.
It was time for me to get mine because everyone else in my family had it, so it was time for me to get mine.
The city's home vaccination program opened up for every resident in June. The Chicago Department of Public Health says recently it's been going so well, CDPH has doubled its capacity and expanded to evening hours.
We've just seen a lot of interest in it, especially in areas where there's less access to health care and in actually really under-vaccinated areas.
Home visits have helped increase vaccination rates among black residents. Since the program opened up to everyone in June, more than half of those who have signed up have been African American. But vaccination rates among black Chicagoans continue to lag far behind. 42.4% have received at least one dose, and only 37.2% are fully vaccinated. 49-year-old Edward Alexander has yet to get his first shot.
I've been trying to get more research. You know, in the beginning, it was like, man, they didn't have enough research.
After a chat with the home vaccinators, Alexander says he plans to call for a home visit. After getting his first dose, Thomas Robinson hopes his neighbor follows through and gets the vaccine.
I like for everyone else to get theirs because there's too many else dying out here.
It's a good thing, in my opinion. They're bringing it to you.
I wish, too.
trying to help you be safe. And that's good. And I think one of the things that I find myself experiencing with this COVID is not saying too much because, like I said in the beginning, it's personal. But the information need to be there. I didn't know they had the people doing that home visit piece as it relates to COVID. I mean, I don't see how you can say that's not a good thing. I think it's really a good thing that they're doing that. Because some people can't get out, so they don't get out. But they shouldn't be denied the opportunity because of that. Now, see, can you find that piece about the pharmacists selling the vaccination certificates, and then the two people that went, or the family that went to Hawaii on false certificates? Yeah, let's look at this. This is the side of this thing that don't make sense.
Tonight, a warning from the FBI. If you didn't get vaccinated yet, don't fake it.
With more and more venues asking to see that Vax card, bogus ones are cropping up. Nate Rogers has more for us tonight from the live desk. Nate.
That's right, Cora and Don, especially with the upcoming events like Lollapalooza that require proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. Officials warn not to fall for growing online scams.
Trying to be preemptive with regards to this. You know, where we've seen it most is on online platforms.
It's a continuing scam in wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Fake vaccination cards. The Square document is the only official record so far to prove vaccination status. The state attorney general saying every 10 days they're being flagged of online suppliers advertising fraudulent records.
If one has not been vaccinated and they produce a fraudulent card, that is fraud.
And it comes with a price. According to the FBI, the creation, purchase, or sale of vaccine cards is illegal and endangers public safety. If caught, penalties include significant fines and prison time of up to 5 years. But also important, not sharing photos of your vaccination record on social media. Officials say doing so could compromise your personal information, leaving you vulnerable to identity theft.
You're often sharing some of your personal information when you do so and rendering yourself vulnerable as a result of doing so.
The FBI says you should be skeptical of unsolicited offers of miracle cures or vaccination documents. Now, the FBI says if you did post your vaccine card online, it is indeed time to remove it.
Speaks for itself. Now, there's two more pieces about this. There's one there about the Hawaii piece. If you don't get to it, but that's an $8,000 fine. So I wanted people to see that because sometimes people take chances, but they need to know that, sometimes it ain't worth the chance you take. And people just need to get these little tidbits of information because Retro Current Team is a nonprofit organization, and our business is about bringing information, making people aware. It ain't just about me standing up here running my mouth or sitting up here running my mouth. So that's why we're bringing this information to you like this.
Officials with the Hawaii Attorney General's office are cracking down on fake COVID-19 vaccination cards. Just last week, Enzo and Daniela Dalmazo from Miami Beach traveled to the island, and authorities say they had fake cards for themselves and their 2 children.
The screener at the airport, when they came through, noticed an anomaly about the age of the children and the vaccine, and that's how we got involved.
The complaint shows the Dalmazos provided COVID-19 vaccination information for 2 minors born in 2016 and 2017. Only children 12 and older are currently eligible to get the COVID shot.
It's a misdemeanor, so it's up to a $5,000 fine and a year in jail if convicted.
To visit Hawaii, however, full vaccination is not a requirement. You can also present a negative COVID test taken 72 hours before your trip. NBC6 went to the Dalmazos' home on Miami Beach to get their comments, but were told they were not there. The FBI also warns making or using a fake vaccination card is illegal. The unauthorized use of an official government agency's seal is a punishable offense.
We need to curb how the transmission is coming in, whether it's returning residents or visitors coming in that are perhaps cheating the system.
The Dalmazos were the second known case of visitors to Hawaii who allegedly used fake vaccination cards. This couple posted bail on August 13th. Reporting outside MIA, I'm Laura Rodriguez, NBC 6 News.
And I find that interesting because I saw where there was a airline employee that just recently had a COVID experience. It might not be here any longer. And I hear people in the Negro community talking about, and I don't know how these people do this, man. Ain't got no job other than home care or something, or some type of, hustle. But they can go to Hawaii, they can go to Puerto Rico, they can go to Jamaica, they can go all over the damn world. I don't understand it. And they don't seem to be too concerned about COVID. They know how to go online and order those tickets in advance so they can get good prices. But this show is sort of about trying to help them understand that, some of these things you're doing, you need to pay attention to something else. Because Chicago right now, I think there's 36 different areas, I don't want to say states, but it might be states, where they don't want people coming here. You understand? And if they come, they need to be quarantined if they don't have their vaccination. But they're basically being told, don't be coming over here because we don't need to be contaminated. That's getting to be a world situation. So those of you that got these children and these grandchildren that's just rolling all over the country, all over the state, all out of state, y'all need to, if you look at cable, you need to just tell them, y'all need to slow down because this thing is still serious. Now that piece about the breakthrough, I really hope you can see that. If not, I'll try to find it and show it again because they're showing, I think it was Florida, where this woman, she died, but she had already been vaccinated. They say study shows that fully vaccinated people, da-da-da-da-da-da. That might be what you see on that thing, Amari, if you can. But meanwhile, we just go with what we got.
1 through 20 in-person speakers, please.
Once your number's called, security sweep, and then wait in the hall until...
Good evening.
Speaking at a school board meeting that hardly resembles a school board meeting. Loudoun County dramatically changing structure for Tuesday night's meeting because at its last meeting, shouting and shoving. A 48-year-old man was arrested. If all of this sounds like a lot, that's because it is. Tuesday, the Loudoun School Board was set to vote on a policy that would grant rights to transgender and gender-expansive students, allowing those students to use the restroom of their chosen gender and requiring teachers to refer to those students by their preferred pronouns. More than 150 commenters weighed in.
Equity-based curriculums around race, gender, sexualities open the door for conversations that help to prevent, address, and mitigate microaggressions.
Substitute teacher Emily Hart says the policy, which is state mandated, would violate her religious rights.
And would force teachers to act against their sincerely held religious beliefs.
It was for that same reason a woman who says she's been a full-time teacher in Loudoun for 5 years did this.
School board, I quit. I quit your policies, I quit your trainings, and I quit being a cog in a machine that tells me to push highly politicized agendas on our most vulnerable constituents, the children.
The emotion and tension are nearly palpable, and the vote on the transgender rights policy will wait another day. After hours of public comment, the board went into recess until Wednesday evening. Reporting in Loudoun County, Drew Wilder, News 4.
Let's go! Let's look at this piece here about the teacher and her explanation as it relates to not having any regrets. Yeah, that one there. Yeah.
if you're trying to lose belly fat.
Well, while this is coming,
we brought you yesterday the Loudoun County School Board voting last night to approve a controversial transgender policy for students. The Virginia county at the center of debate over school board activism. This new policy allows transgender students to compete in sports of the other gender and use bathrooms based on their gender identity. It also requires teachers and staff to use students' preferred pronouns.
It comes after a fifth grade teacher in the district, Laura Morris, resigned publicly in protest against the district, pushing what she called a highly politicized agenda. She spoke exclusively to Fox News. Anita Vogel joins us live with her reaction. Hey, Anita.
Well, hi, Jackie. Laura Morris took a very bold step a couple of days ago, tendering her resignation so publicly. Now she's opening up about why she did that and what her plans are now. You might remember Morris made her comments to the Loudoun County School Board, telling them she didn't want to be, quote, a cog in a machine, pushing what she called a highly politicized political agenda onto children. Then she tearfully resigned to the shock of everyone around her. In her first TV interview since then, she tells me she felt compelled to make a statement.
I saw this as an opportunity to do something that I needed to do for myself, and it was honestly for my students. I wanted them to know why I was leaving. I'm glad to see that people saw that action as something important, and maybe they'll be inspired to do something.
Morris also goes on to explain that her goal as a teacher is to concentrate on reading, writing, and math, and that instead she felt the focus of the district was too heavy with politics and equity training, and that education was taking a back seat, and that if she had to do it all over again, she wouldn't change a thing.
I'm very sad about some things that I'm giving up and leaving behind, but regret is not the word. I don't regret what I did. I don't regret anything I said. I don't regret anything I did. Because I just knew, and I was so led in having to do this.
Since Tuesday, Morris says she has received a lot of support from just about everywhere and many job offers from all around the country, and she has in fact accepted a teaching position at a private Christian school. Jackie?
Anita Vogel, thank you so much.
Okay, Amara, can you see that one that I just sent you about the breakthrough? If not, there's one more after that, and then we'll be through with this. But the breakthrough, yeah, that one right there. That's important. People need to see this. It'll help people.
T-Mobile is the leader in 5G.
See some things. But why they doing that? Now, this story is touching. But the mother of this person gave some information that was good to give. And sometimes we have to be honest. Instead of just pointing our fingers, we have to take responsibility, particularly with something like this. But like I said, I can't say too much about COVID. It's very
Welcome back to CBS
everybody.
This Morning. As the Delta variant sweeps across the country, we're taking a closer look at the so-called breakthrough cases, people who get COVID after receiving a vaccine. Research shows it's extremely rare for breakthrough cases to lead to hospitalizations or death. According to the CDC, out of 168 million people vaccinated, only about 1,500 have died of the virus. That's a tiny fraction of 1%. Our lead national correspondent David Begnaud joins us from Lafayette, Louisiana with more. David, good morning.
Anthony, good morning. 99.9% of people who've been vaccinated do not and have not gotten seriously ill or died from COVID. It's extremely rare. But listen, it's happened, and it continues to happen. And if it happens to your family, it's devastating, even if you're the only one. So this morning, we're going to tell one of those rare stories and give you all the necessary context to understand how many people are being affected like this.
I'm not feeling well.
Tara Mosley read to us what would be some of her daughter's final words.
My legs are turning black.
Over the course of the next few days, Angel would describe her pain in detail through text messages as she lay alone at home and later in the hospital.
My lungs are clogged up with mucus and blood.
Angel battled COVID and pneumonia in a New Orleans hospital. Her mother was only allowed to see her very briefly.
So I went in and I prayed with her. And I had to show her that, we love her. It's like, Angel, we love you. And it was at that moment she shed a tear.
Who shed a tear?
Angel did.
She did.
She did.
That same day, July 25th, Angel died. She was 33 years old.
I just tested positive for COVID-19 while being vaccinated.
When Angel initially told her mother and her sister that she had tested positive for COVID, she said that she was vaccinated, which means that she is considered to be a breakthrough case. Now, according to CDC data, breakthrough cases make up less than 1% of all the COVID cases. Of the more than 168 million Americans who have been fully vaccinated, around 8,000 have been hospitalized or died of COVID, and that is about 0.005%.
There will be people who watch this story who say she got vaccinated and she died.
I would still say to them, still be vaccinated, because her weight played a lot in it.
Did the doctor ever speak to you about her weight and that being a factor?
He did. He says, Ben says she's a large person. Her heart could not pump like it should have been pumping.
The CDC says that people with certain comorbidities are more at risk for having severe symptoms of COVID-19, which among them are obesity, chronic kidney and heart disease, asthma, and cancer.
Right now, the majority of cases where we're seeing positive with COVID-19 are the unvaccinated, period.
CBS News medical contributor Dr. David Agus says that vaccines are stopping people from getting seriously ill, and that nearly everyone who has died after being vaccinated has had some type of serious underlying medical condition.
It's very important for every single person who's been vaccinated to know if you have other medical conditions, the vaccine doesn't protect from those becoming an issue or causing a problem. While the vaccines may give you some protection, it's not enough to overcome the medical issues or the lack of a very strong immune system, unfortunately.
Angel's mother wanted to assure us that her daughter took the virus seriously, and she wanted all of her friends and her family to get vaccinated.
That's nice. That's a beautiful color, too.
Mm-hmm. Angel was a budding entrepreneur. She owned Brave Boutique in New Orleans, which is a store that specializes in clothes for plus-size women. Inside, Angel's bright-colored clothing lines the walls. Outside, there has been a growing memorial.
If she were here right now, what would she want you to say?
Keep her business going, because that was hers, that was her baby, that was her dream. I know she really would want it to people to know to actually to be vaccinated, to still mask up. It's very imperative that we still mask up.
Angel was buried over the weekend. Her mother buried her in one of the dresses that was sold at her store. And Angel's mom tells us she plans to keep that store up and running. One more thing before we go. The leading health officer here in Louisiana said just on Friday that 100 people here in Louisiana have died after being fully vaccinated, 23 within the last week. But he made this point. He said the median age of people who are those breakthrough cases and getting really sick and dying, the median age is 74 years old. And the vast majority of those people all have pretty severe underlying conditions. Gail?
That's good to remember. Thank you, David.
This is a complicated situation, y'all. Now they told you when the thing first broke out that you had the lieutenant governor of Texas saying if you're 60, just go on and die and get out the way and be through with it. And then you had Rahm Emanuel brother saying if you're 70-something, woo.
Did you know that the average
go
adult
on and die and get out of it? And now these people say, well, the breakthrough cases. Basically, you're 75 years old and up, you're going to die anyway, so woo. So, I mean, it's a hell of a thing. But the thing that I think sort of pushed me to deal with this today is the idea that we need to see people that are real. And I hope they allow this program to be shown, but that piece still makes me wonder, and they might say, something different. But I hope they let people see it, because that was a real piece. That's a Negro piece. A lot of us know that's our life. That situation there where the young sister got vaccinated because she was trying to be here, and then because of some other conditions, she made her transition. But her mother didn't seem bitter. Her mother didn't seem hostile. Her mother owned the reality. There was other situations, but I'm gonna keep her business going. Now, brother, what is this you got here? Hopefully it's the piece about these police officers, and then we're gonna end with this piece about critical
released
race
tonight
theory.
by the San Diego Sheriff's Department. It shows a deputy on the brink of death after being exposed to fentanyl. The deputy saved by his partner, who was equipped with the life-saving medicine known as Narcan. We do want to warn you, what you're about to see is difficult to watch.
I'm not gonna let you die. I need Narcan! I got you. I got you.
Dramatic body cam video capturing the moment Corporal Scott Crane of the San Diego County Sheriff's Department is promising his trainee, Deputy David Five-Eye, he's not going to let him die after Five-Eye was exposed to fentanyl while processing drugs at the scene of an arrest in early July. That discovery caught on Five-Eye's own body cam just minutes earlier.
Yeah, it's a powder.
Could be cocaine or fentanyl. It tested positive for fentanyl.
The synthetic opioid is 50 times more potent than heroin, and exposure to just a few small grains can have deadly consequences. In Five-Eye's case, the exposure and his reaction to it was almost instant.
A couple seconds later, he took some steps back and he collapsed. I ran over to him and I grabbed him and he was ODing.
Corporal Crane was equipped with the nasal spray Narcan, a prescription medicine that rapidly reverses the effects of an overdose. Still, Five-Eye needed more. Here he is, in his own words, still emotional.
My lungs just locked up. I couldn't breathe. I was trying to gasp for breath, but I couldn't breathe at all.
Five-Eye, you okay? Talk to me. Oh, no. Don't be sorry. You're okay. Don't be sorry. There's nothing to be sorry about. I got you, okay? I'm not going to let you die.
Deputy Five-Eye taken by ambulance, overdosing again and again on his way to the hospital. But without his partner and that Narcan, he knows he would have been just another statistic in this country's deadly drug overdose epidemic.
I'm Deputy David Five-Eye, and I almost died of a fentanyl overdose.
Over the last year, fentanyl deaths in California have spiked almost 46%. According to the San Diego Sheriff's Department, deputies in San Diego were in fact the very first in this state to begin carrying the Narcan.
Imagine you had invested
Now,
in Google.
It was important to me, for me, to be able, and I'm thankful that Brother Amari was able to recapture that piece. And once again, we hope they allow that to be played. Because we want to get people educated. We want to make people aware. We are living in a serious situation, man. I mean, the heavy load. This show here, we tried to present it in a way that it didn't depress you. But we wanted to show you the load. And we hope that somehow you begin to communicate to those people that's in your social atom ways to try to lighten the load. Too much is happening that don't have to happen. But we got to do different than what we're doing. All of us. So we mixed it up a little bit today. I tried not to be amplifying or saying too much. But I want to end with a piece here. And some people will be sort of, I know how a lot of Negroes think. But this brother here is a doctor. He's a person of accomplishment. And he's going to speak on something you heard me speak about too. This critical race theory. What he's saying is what a lot of us know. See, can you find that piece, Brother Amari? Talks about the critical race theory. If not, I'll send it back to you, because I sent it twice, and I hope at one time it caught. That piece it's information that our people need to see, because sometimes our people, yeah, that one there, our people make excuses. Stop making excuses and deal with the truth.
Pretty much going to be teaching kids how to hate each other, how to dislike each other. That's pretty much what it's going to. That's pretty much, I don't care what you say, it's pretty much what it's going to all come down to. You're going to deliberately teach kids, this white kid right here got it better than you because he white? You're going to purposely tell a white kid, oh, the black people are all down and suppressed. How do I have 2 medical degrees if I'm sitting here oppressed? How did I get, first of all, time up, because I only got 5 minutes now, 5 minutes. 2 medical degrees. No mom, no dad in the house. Worked my way through college. Sat there and hustled my butt off to get through college. You going to tell me somebody that looked like all y'all white folks kept me from doing that? Are you serious? Not one white person ever came to me and say, well, son, you're never going to be able to get nowhere because you know the black people. But guess what? What's sickening about this whole thing is what y'all doing right now is already something I do in my community right now to speak out against stuff, because black folks are getting told by other black folks, oh, you know you ain't going to be able to do nothing out there in the world because them white folks ain't going to let you get no, oh, you know you're not going to be able to do it here because you know, the white man going to keep you down. Well, how did I get where I am right now if some white man kept me down? How am I now directing over folks that look just like you guys in this room right now? How? What kept me down? What oppressed me? I worked for myself from off the streets to where I am right now. You gonna sit here and tell me this lie of critical race theory? Of this the reason why black folks can't get ahead because of white folks? Are you kidding me? This is what we come to now. I can't believe we even talking about this right now. The last thing I'm gonna say right here is something that's crazy. Martin Luther King said he wanted his kids to grow up in a world where they are judged by the contents of their what? Their character, not their skin. If they letting this stuff go on right now, it is absolutely doing the complete reverse of what he's doing. So when February comes, don't talk about Martin Luther King. When February comes, don't talk about Black History Month. If y'all gonna sit there and just pretty much pee on his grave with this nonsense, that's exactly what's about to happen. Lastly, we are talking about our kids. We are talking about our children. What's so sickening about me, I love the Discovery Channel. You will see that on the Discovery Channel, animals will put their lives on the line to protect their children from danger. Nobody want to get to the heart of the matter, get to the meat of the matter, get to the moral of the story. It all comes down to it. The person that's going to be suffering from this, the one's going to be hurt from this, is the kids. 10 years from now, if this stuff goes on, whose fault is it going to be? Whose fault is it going to be? Who we going to look back on and blame for this? Because this is stuff we talking about right now. This stuff is going on right now. I do this stuff on a daily basis. I'm in the hood. I'm in the communities. I'm out there with folks in their face. I've been doing stuff since I was 18 years old, talking to black folks. And you know what? None of them are buying this nonsense. None of them are. But if you want to implement this into the school system, I guarantee you to the day that I die, I'm going to be the very person right there debunking stuff, tearing stuff down, letting them know they can do exactly what I did and get exactly where I am by putting themselves to work and getting there. And ain't not one white person ever going to keep any of them from getting there. So the CRT stuff, BS.
There is no more important video on the internet right now. Thank you.
All right, cut it off, Omar. That's it. Now I hope this dude here don't
on the left. They know that they've overstepped their.
Don't block this because he got some damn rights or control over some information that's floating on social media. Now that type of information is the type of information that need to come in to the environments where people are that's looking at cable. But these damn new, they ain't new, these social media platforms, you know, their control thirst is so whatever that when you look at material, you question whether or not you should use it because everybody knows it's not yours. You know it's not yours. I'm not trying to make money on it. But I could just see, because I guess that person they just showed, he probably produced it and whatever. I don't know what the hell he did, but he popped up. So, Brother Amari, I'm sure when he do what he got to do this, he might have to edit it out. And that's what I suggested to Amari. Anything that when he get ready to post it, whatever they say is a block, find it, delete it, cut off, and do what we can so we can get out whatever we can for people to see and hear. But I have to say it almost every week that it's like walking on eggshells because these people put stuff out here and it's supposed to be to educate folk, but they want you to beg them or waste time trying to find out who can give you permission. Well, whatever. Until next week, Alafia. Peace and good health.